Hi, this is Chuck Oliver. Welcome to this week's Hidden Wealth Solution Review. Well, there's no debating after watching this first debate what I call the two capital T's: tax trouble. You know, the GOP went on as a consensus that more money should be going to Ukraine. Folks, whatever party we're talking about, money's being spent like drunken sailors. And the reality is taxes are going to have to go up. And I know I talk about taxes a lot, but that's the number one thing that is overlooked for retirees. I talk about that on Hidden Wealth Radio this weekend, is not taking full consideration into effect of the impact of taxes, with positions being bought and sold out of a brokerage account that trigger unexpected taxes, or obviously required distributions, or just taking money out of IRAs that push retirees into higher tax brackets. And let me give you a story of Don and Vicky. And what's fascinating about this story is these are clients likely like many of you listening. Now they've been retired a bit, but they're now just getting into required minimum distributions. And they've been really trying to figure out what's the best way to kind of beat the band here on lowering these required minimum distributions, because they have an adult son who does very well for himself, who's already a high income earner. And they're very concerned about the tax liability they could leave, because like some of you listening, they actually have really strong pensions and Social Security income, so they actually don't need to draw down income, but the government's going to force them to do that. And so that's inadvertently going to just shove them into paying higher taxes. But at the same time, it's not going to allow them to preserve their wealth. And since they don't need to take much from those accounts, and other than what they're told they have to take out without penalty, this is going to leave a huge tax burden. I mean, it's a massive tax burden. In fact, the client was quoted saying, look, we don't want to leave our son a 50% tax liability tax rate because of having to take these inherited required minimum distributions. And I talk about on Hidden Wealth Radio this weekend that they keep changing the rules on inherited IRAs, just like they keep changing the rules on our own IRAs. And folks, here's the solution. Just get yourself out of IRAs. I'm going to be teaching this Tuesday at retirementprotected.com. That's retirementprotected.com. Strategies, proven strategies with a track record of measurable success that if clients have been able to use in conjunction with our tax team to use deductions that help them undo their IRAs and get them over to Roth IRAs and not have to pay the tax out of their own pocket. Now, this is not giving tax advice. This is tax strategy that our own family and a number of our client families use, that we've been able to provide good direction through our tax team so that everything's done correctly. And this deduction, by the way, has been around since President Wilson, going back to the inception of the tax code in 1913. And some of you have just kind of started taking advantage of this, because I think as we head kind of into the latter part of this year, people start to take their taxes a little bit more seriously, because if you're going to save taxes, you got to get stuff done before, right, the new year rings in. Well, folks, it's never too early, it's never too late to get a head start, to be sure that you're being tax retirement smart, because that's the thing that catches up with everybody. So what did Don and Vicky learn? So they learned a strategy I'll teach Tuesday called the Rich Man's Roth, a Roth IRA alternative. And this is a way for them to preserve their estate, preserve their assets, but to untax them and to make them tax-free to the point of leaving a projection over a normal life expectancy for their son 10 times more totally tax-free. So by using about $500,000, they're able to leave over almost $6 million based on their son's normal life expectancy, completely tax-free, no downside market deterioration, no limit to upside opportunity, no concern of, a track record of more than outperforming the markets, but in particular with indexing, not investing. So you have unlimited upside, no downside, but no tax, no required distributions. Son's not locked out of the money till he's 59 and a half. Son's not required to take a required minimum distribution. It's one of the top tax loopholes that I talk about in Hidden Wealth Radio this weekend that many people are starting to realize, is that the government's trying to change. I talked last week, trying to change the regulations, right? So they're trying to restrict certain people from not being able to do Roth conversions. This one's not under attack. They're also trying to take away the ability not just to do a Roth conversion, but force people out of their IRAs and Roth IRAs in what they call an any age required distribution. Folks, we have to look for other solutions. The other strategy that's a very overlooked loophole is this energy deduction I'll talk about, where you can have up to a 100% tax deduction and use the deduction to offset taxes in other areas like Roth conversion tax. And they learned how to not only get rid of their required minimum distributions, which ends up leaving an enormous amount of additional wealth to their son, who will now not have inherited required minimum distributions, but they also were able to build a Roth alternative IRA that not only will last their generation, cover both husband and wife, the survivor of each of them, especially facing higher taxes or higher inflation, protect the downside, only no limit to the upside, and then be able to pass that to now not just one new generation, but as seconds for a total of 3 generations for what we call tax-free family wealth transfer formula. Folks, you work hard for your money. Understand Washington has a war on wealth, and they're coming, and they're already making these proposals. The time to take advantage of it is now. Retirementprotected.com, retirementprotected.com. I'll leave you with one final question. Is the plan that got you to where you are the best plan to get you through and to where you want to go? Retirementprotected.com.